Good evening, friends. Welcome to episode 13 of the SuperLarz vlog. Today's episode is going to take us to Belmont Park here in the Mission Beach section of San Diego. I'm inviting you all to come along for the adventure, so buckle up, strap in, and let's go. Belmont Park opened in 1925 as the Mission Beach Amusement Center. In 1955, it was renamed to its current name, Belmont Park, after a Canadian amusement park. Entry into Belmont Park is actually free, but they do have a charge for the attractions, the rides, and the amusements. There are oftentimes like TV shows or movies where they film in Belmont Park. I think they've done some episodes of The Bachelor here, so that could be the reason why it's closed today, but we're gonna have to come back another day. Well, that's a bit disappointing, but at least we didn't come from hours and hours away to go to Belmont Park. We're gonna have to check that one out here in the near future. It does kind of leave us in a little bit of a conundrum for what to do today, but I think I have an idea. We drove about 5 minutes to get to SeaWorld, which is just about 2 miles away from Belmont Park, and it is also closed for the day. So unscheduled closures really kind of getting in the way of a vlog. We'll see where we can go. We still need to get on an adventure today, so hang in there, keep the seatbelt strapped on, and we'll figure it out. Well, friends, the first two things we tried to do today were not successful, so let's head to Old Town and walk around State Park. Old Town San Diego is a variety of tourist shops and museums, and there is a fairly sizable big public square that anyone can walk through. There's a pretty cool little shop here with all of this handmade pottery. Looks like they do pottery demonstrations a couple days a week. There's an old clothing store as well as a pretty sizable candy shop, if that's your thing. The candy shop has a ton of variety. It is a little bit later in the day, so a lot of things here are not open right now, but this was not something that we planned on doing, so let's just kind of get an overview and maybe we'll come back and explore a little bit more in depth at some point in the future. Old Town here in San Diego was the spot of the first European settlement in California. So there were obviously natives here before the Europeans, but this is the first spot that Europeans settled. Now, as we walk around the square here in Old Town, we'll see a lot of these buildings are actually reproductions of what was originally here, but there are still a lot of cool experiences to be seen, a lot of cool architecture, some good restaurants, as well as a lot of different stores with local vendors. So let's take a walk around and check it out. I have never been in a lot of the museums here in Old Town, so maybe one day that could be a pretty cool adventure that we could take, exploring new museums and seeing what they have to offer culturally. In addition to that, most of these buildings do have a little sign outside, whether they are original or reproductions, that talk a little bit more about the history of that building or at least that location. The shadows are starting to get long here in the Old West, here in Old Town. You can see the sun moving across the sky, starting to get a little bit lower, moving towards the horizon. Looks like they got an old lawman out here. How you doing, Sheriff? Another thing to note on today's vlog, episode 13, we are actually using the new camera, so everything so far seems to be pretty smooth. Hopefully the footage turns out good, as well as the sound quality. So looking forward to getting in the editing room and seeing how things look. There's a pretty cool fountain outside this restaurant here. Here in Old Town, there is a Cosmopolitan Hotel, not to be confused with the Cosmopolitan Hotel in Las Vegas. It does need to be said, though, that if this in fact is an original building here in Old Town, that this Cosmopolitan Hotel has probably seen its fair share of gambling. There are a lot of ghost tours. There's a lot of supposedly haunted buildings in the vicinity, including one of the supposed most haunted houses in America, the Whaley House. This particular building looks like it needs a little bit of refurbishment work. It appears to be called the Casa of Machado, La Casa de Machado. Now, I don't think they are talking about my boy Manny Machado, but he also needs to get some work in this season. Over here looks like the general store. Looks like they have pretzels, ice cream, and other baked goods. Let's check it out. The food offerings in the general store were a little bit of a letdown, but they do have an afternoon tea out here in the garden. A little bit too late for that. There's an old stagecoach out here. That was one of the primary methods of transportation for people in the Old West. And over here is the Los Angeles stage office, which is where one would assume you could catch the stagecoach heading north. It looks like we are a little bit too late to get into the blacksmith shop, but as to be expected at this time of day on a Friday. The good news is, if all things go according to plan, we may see a blacksmith in action on Saturday or Sunday. There's a variety of like leather bags, bracelets, dresses, pop culture t-shirts, really whatever kind of touristy items you can think of are going to be here. There is a skeleton wearing a tiara advertising the Ghosts and Gravestones sightseeing tour. A short walk away from Old Town Square is the Whaley House. The Whaley House is said to be one of the most haunted buildings in America. We have done that tour a couple times, and I'm not sure if you're allowed to film in there, but if you are, perhaps one day in the future we'll take a quick walk through and check out if we see anything strange. And that's going to do it for our adventure here in Old Town San Diego. It may not have been our first choice, but it was a nice evening. Please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more adventures. And we will catch you guys tomorrow.